So I always believed, especially after becoming a believer, that God had made me just the way He'd made me. But even after putting my trust in Christ, there was still this leaning into athletics as the thing that defined me, because I was a great athlete. And there was a big moment of crisis back in college that I'll never forget, and it was really the turning point for how I not only viewed God, but how I viewed God's work in me. I was a freshman All-American. I could do no wrong in two sports. And at the national tournament, my sophomore year, I was in the semifinals, ranked #1 in the country, on my way to a national championship. I was wrestling, and I snapped this guy down, and he jumped onto my ankle. And I can still hear my knee cracking like a branch. My mother even said that she could hear it from the stands. And right then, I began to believe that it was all over. And the moment that I realized that I could not allow my ability to produce to define me was at a wrestling match. I was sitting in the stands, right on the front row, watching my team compete. And after the match, I was waiting to be approached by all of my, quote, adoring fans, because for the previous year, that's what it had been. Lines of people waiting for autographs, waiting for a conversation, waiting for a moment to meet me. And these same people walked right by. They had no interest in talking to me if I wasn't the star of the show. That was the first time that God taught me that lesson. It would happen again in the NFL when after playing my guts out, I get injured in Europe, and I come home and go through rehab, and I'm sitting there watching ESPN, and I see my name scroll across the bottom of the screen where the Saints had released me without even a phone call. And that was another reminder, another vivid reminder that if my identity is wrapped up in what I do and not who I am in Christ, then it's always subject to crisis. It's always subject to failure. It's always subject to disintegration. And I'm always going to be on the precipice of feeling like I'm worth less than I actually am. There are men who have Super Bowl rings and you couldn't say their names today. There are men who built great companies and took over countries and amassed massive amounts of wealth, and no one knows who they are. But the men that we remember, they were faithful to great causes. You don't have to be the next great Christian leader. You don't have to be the next great Christian business person. You be you. And Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 promises that in you being you, faithful to how He's made you, faithful with the things that He's given you, that God will prosper you to the degree of significance that He's determined for you. And in that He will rejoice. And because of that, you will rejoice.